Hello, everybody. Welcome into my latest live broadcast. Today is the 6th of June, 2020. My name is Carey Holzman. Welcome in, everybody. Hoping to make a short video today. Try and keep it under an hour. That's a short video for me. We'll see how close I get to it. Welcome in. We'll give folks a chance to jump into the chat room. Thanks to those of you who were already in there. Hello to Matthew Camp 915, David Griswold, Evolutionary Mishap is in there, and Vern Mahorney, as well as Chris Chase. Hey guys, welcome in. Thanks for being early birds and joining in before the stream started. I was trying to get this stream started 2 hours ago, and I just keep getting pulled away with distractions, and I said, I'm going to do this today no matter what. So here I am. Today, I've got an overview and a review of some products that Sabrent has sent me. And what I've got here is a USB enclosure for NVMe drives. Sometimes people ask me, how do I upgrade my NVMe drive? What if I want to replace it with a larger model? Or what if I have an M.2 SATA drive that I want to replace with an M.2 NVMe drive? How do I move the data from one to the other if I only have one M.2 socket? Well, this is your answer right here. This is also a great answer for backing your data up to external storage that's fast and reliable. This will convert a standard, ordinary, everyday M.2 NVMe drive to be USB 3.2 compatible. So you just plug it into any USB port and it will run at the speed that that port allows for. If you plug it into USB 2, it'll only run at USB 2 speeds. And if you plug it into USB 1, you see where I'm going? All the way up to USB 3.2, which is the latest and fastest standard in USB. Beyond that, you would have to go to a Thunderbolt interface if you're an Intel user, and no Thunderbolt interface if you're an AMD user. That's right. If you are an AMD user, no Thunderbolt for you. Now, Thunderbolt isn't as common. As a computer technician, I never know what my customers are going to have. But I know they're all going to have USB ports. So by using a standard flash drive for my utilities, or if I want to, let's say a customer hires me and says, I want you to upgrade my mechanical hard drive to an M.2 NVMe drive. Well, I suppose I wouldn't need this because I would just use their M.2. So let's say the customer says to me, I've got an M.2 drive now, and I want to upgrade it with something bigger, faster. Then I would bring this tool with me to the customer's location. Why would I bring this? This supposedly doesn't require any tools. So I don't have any tools. That works out perfectly. But I don't have an NVMe drive to put in here, so Sabrent said, don't just let us help you out there too. So thanks to William over at Sabrent. William sent me the Rocket Q NVMe PCIe M.2 2 terabyte NVMe drive. So this would be similar to the storage that you've seen me use in the past. You've seen me use the Intel 660p on the budget side of the NVMe drives. Those drives were about $200. Now they're around $250. Now this does use the QLC technology, hence the name Rocket Q. But it's faster than Intel's QLC, quite a bit faster actually. So it costs a little bit more money because you're getting a little bit faster. Now that being said, it does not make a lot of sense to buy a really fast, expensive NVMe drive and then stick it in a USB enclosure, right? It's like buying a Ferrari and only driving it during rush hour traffic. What's the point? So as far as 2 terabyte storage goes, I believe this is the least expensive. I could be wrong, but I believe this is the least expensive 2 terabyte drive that Sabrent makes. And this is faster than the Intel drive and priced a little bit more currently. I've got links for the enclosure, which I think is around $45. And the Sabrent drive, I want to say, is like $260, $270 right in there for 2 terabytes. And this is made in other capacities at different prices, of course. And the read and write speeds are quite a bit faster than Intel's. I believe all NVMe drives have a 5-year warranty universally across the board from all manufacturers. I believe that's the same here. And you'll see Sabrent includes a copy of Acronis. You'll see the little Acronis sticker that comes with their drives, but only works with their drives. So don't think you're going to just get the Acronis software and use it with anything. It's specifically looking for a Sabrent drive to work. Now that being said, everything's brand new. All of my videos are live and unrehearsed. The packaging is still shrink wrapped. I've cut a slit in it so I can pull it apart live on camera, the packaging, and we'll just see how this goes. As for a testing rig, I thought, well, why not use the rig we built yesterday with Steve Bass? This is a brand new build. It's a AMD 3400G, and we have those USB 3, I believe they're 3.2 ports right here in the back. So since it's out and it's a clean, fresh install of Windows, we don't have anything that will interfere with our test as far as third-party software that could be installed on a rig that could impact performance benchmarking. And I'm very curious how this will run through USB, because clearly this drive can run a lot faster, much faster than USB can carry the data currently. I'm sure that will change in time, but for now, this drive is substantially faster than what the USB port can transfer. Hence, a Ferrari is much faster than what the freeway traffic will permit it to drive at when there's other cars in front of you going slower. However, I love the idea that it's tool-free. As a technician, I like the idea that I can pull this out, in theory, pull this tool out whenever I need it to take care of a job for a customer, whatever that job may be, if it involves an NVMe drive. Now, this does not work with M.2 SATA drives. There's a separate enclosure for M.2 SATA drives. To the untrained eye, an M.2 SATA and an M.2 NVMe drive look nearly identical. However, I'm told that somebody does make an enclosure that will work with either SATA or NVMe for M.2 drives. And I've asked them to send me one so I can see it to believe it, because up until I received that information, it's always been the case where you need one type of enclosure for SATA and you need a different type of enclosure for NVMe, and that's because they require two different kinds of controllers. Whenever you install a hard drive through a USB adapter, typically any software that the drive manufacturer makes will no longer recognize the drive. So be aware that if you were to take a Samsung drive and put it in this enclosure, the Samsung Magician software has no idea what this enclosure is. The enclosure is providing the driver so that the Windows operating system can access the drive. When the drive is installed internally to the motherboard, then it's using the Windows driver specifically for the M.2 drive, and the Samsung Magician software, and I'm only mentioning the Samsung Magician software because you see it frequently on the channel, but any drive manufacturer software, whether it's a solid state drive, M.2 or mechanical drive, the minute you plug it into a USB adapter, that drive manufacturer software probably won't recognize their drive anymore, because now it looks like this. It doesn't look like this anymore. But as far as using the drive, it's going to work the same for you with regards to doing backups or making copies. One of the reasons I hear people don't make backups more often is they say it takes too long. Well, if you get a faster backup drive and plug it into a fast USB port, you'd be surprised, I think, just how little time it can take to image your whole system. Most people that I encounter, most of my customers, have less than 100 gigs of data, and it takes less than 30 minutes to back them up to a solid-state drive via USB. Obviously, if the USB port you're plugging into is a slower one, well, it's going to take you quite a bit longer. So we're going to watch for those blue USB ports back here. Some of the name brand manufacturer pre-builds like Dell, all the ports are black, and you're like, well, how do I know which are which? The super speed ports or 3.0 ports will have a little tiny SS written. You might have to get glasses out to read it, but there'll be little markings that'll say SS for super speed. All right, everybody can see and hear me okay, I hope. I'm not seeing any complaints. I haven't been paying too much attention. I apologize. I've got a lot to get through. I want to thank the folks, obviously, at Sabrent for sending me the products for testing. And I want to also give a shout out to my one and only sponsor right now, that is Cyber Systems with RoboForm. And Cyber Systems has agreed to take a chance with us and throw a little money our way to support the channel in the hopes that you guys will check out their product at roboform.com. There's a free trial. If you're still, writing your passwords down on a piece of paper, stop it. You're working way too hard. You need a password manager. Seriously. Once you start learning how a password manager works, you'll wish you would have used one earlier. There's plenty of password managers to choose from. RoboForm is not your only choice, but RoboForm is the only one supporting us. So if you want to show them a little support back, you want to show them a little love back, at least give their product a shot. You don't have to buy it. Download the free version of it, try it out, and then wonder how you lived without it. If you don't like it, take it off. It won't hurt your computer by trying it. It's a safe piece of software. They've been around for like 20 years. I've been using the product at least 15 years. And if this whole thing doesn't work out and they decide they don't want to sponsor me anymore, I promise you I'll still be using RoboForm the next 5 years because I've paid for it for that long and I'm going to get my money's worth. So that's the kind of sponsorships I like to do, something where it's a product I use anyway. I think it's a good value to many of you. And if you don't know what a password manager is, the sooner you figure that out, the sooner you'll say thank you to me. Regardless of what program you use, password managers, you'll just wonder how you lived without them, regardless of who makes it. I want to get my knife out because I just realized this other box is taped closed. So we're going to take the enclosure out of the box first. This is the USB 3.2 tool-free enclosure. Now it doesn't just work with Sabrent NVMe drives. It will work with any NVMe drive of any capacity. As far as I know, there's no capacity restriction, I think. It'll certainly work with what we have here today, which is a 2 terabyte drive. Now, one of the things I like about Sabrent's enclosure, because I've evaluated the other NVMe enclosure where there's a little tiny screwdriver and there's little tiny screws, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. But it's also this heavy enclosure that dissipates the heat really, really well, better than any of the other enclosures I've tested. So this should be just an improvement of what I've already evaluated in the past, in that they've gotten rid of those little tiny screws. They've given us 2 USB cables here. One is a Type-C to Type-C cable. You should be familiar with the 2 most prominent forms of USB connectors. There's USB Type-A. Now, Type-A is the connector you all well know, see it every day on everything, and it's this rectangular connector that can only plug in one way, and yet it always takes 3 attempts to get it in. I don't know what that's all about. The Type-C connector, you'll probably find that on your new cellular phone and some new laptops. And this is going to be supposed to be the new standard. It will plug in either way. You can't get it wrong. And wouldn't it be great if your laptop and your cell phone and your shaver and your toothbrush and everything else that took power would all charge with the same cable? That's the goal here. So when you're traveling, you just take one charging cable, and all of those things that take batteries that you need, from hygiene care to your laptop to external storage devices, you can charge your phone with the same cable that you're transferring data with. In fact, you can plug this device right into your phone to back your phone up. What a concept. So they've given us 2 different cables. One's got the Type-C connector on one end, which is required by the enclosure, and Type-A for the most common connector. And then if you have a more modern PC, then you'll have a Type-C connector that you've probably never used on it, and you can plug in with that connector instead. In theory, they should both be USB 3.2 and run at the same speed at this point. Eventually, this should take over and get faster. We'll see. So getting back to what's in the box, if I reach over here, we have, what is an empty box? Let me just let me do this. I'm going to have a little thumbnail moment. All right, hopefully my sister can use that. She can freeze frame that and use it in a thumbnail. Or not. She did a pretty good thumbnail for me today, and it was last minute. My thanks to Linda for doing that, of course. So apart from the instructions, which, you know, who needs those? This thing's pretty straightforward, or it should be. Again, this is all live and unscripted, so there shouldn't be any instructions required here if you follow along with me. I love the heft. I really feel like you're getting your money's worth here. It's not some cheap piece of plastic. Don't drop it on your toe. Let's see. The hardest part probably of putting this all together is getting this out of the bag. It's fine, I got it, no problem. Just any minute now. Is this child-proof? You could get some scissors or a razor and save yourself some time. I'm live on camera. Here's what the enclosure looks like. It looks exactly like the other enclosures from Sabrent I've shown you in the past that I liked. Only instead of having 4 screws on the bottom, we used to have 2 screws on each end, and they were little teeny tiny screws. And then you'd have a little tiny screw that holds the drive in. Now we just have this little handle that pops out right here. And then we're going to turn that about half a turn, 90 degrees, which is not half a turn. Half a turn is 180 degrees. It's a quarter turn. Thank you for correcting me, Carey. And when we just lift that off, it will expose a little circuit board right there. That's where our drive is going to go. And then there's a little magnetic piece that will hold the drive of numerous lengths into position. So while you'll often find the most common length of M.2 is 2280. That's 22 millimeters wide, 80 millimeters long. They do make them in other, I think, 40, 60, 80, and 110. And so that's where you see those little circles. Those are for the different size M.2s. So we'll take our brand new M.2 drive out of the package here. Hopefully this one will come out of the package a little easier. It's Carey proof. Nothing is Carey proof. Come on now. Come on. I'm going to tear this package. You know, I'm one of these guys that I can look at the most complex problem and easily resolve it. But if there's a door that says pull, I'll be pushing on it, trying to figure out why it won't open. I may look in the little gap between the door and the door jamb to see if it's locked. I might look through the window to see if anybody's in there. I might look along the side windows to see if there's hours of operation, to see if the place is closed. And then eventually, I'll see that it says push. And then I'll look around to see if anybody saw me. And then I'll act like nothing happened and went in. Sort of like an absent-minded professor. And I'm still trying to get this. I'm trying to preserve the box, okay? But I am live on video, so I'm just done with that now. So I'm going to do what I have to do here to get even the box. I hope the drive is made half as good as the packaging. Ah, I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. Thank you, everybody. Good night. No, so Sabrent, they put their drives. This is kind of, I don't know. It's kind of cool, but it's kind of a waste. They put their drives in a tin, like what mints, you know, breath mints, like Altoids. They come in that tin. This is kind of like a tin. Personally, I mean, you're just going to throw this away. I don't know why they would spend so much money to package it in such a nice package, because once it's out of the package, I mean, if it was something that you were going to use and put back, then I think the packaging being really, what's the word? It's tough, you know? It'll withstand a lot of opening and closing and usage over time. But we're only going to open it, take the drive out, and never use it again. So I think Sabrent could maybe, I don't know, save a little bit of money and, you know, just package the thing in a piece of plastic wrapped around a piece of cardboard. I think it'd be just fine. That's my opinion. That's all marketing dollars right there that's adding to the price of the drive. And again, if I had another purpose for it, I'd say great, but I don't know when I would ever use this again, this packaging. As nice as it is, my mints already come in a tin. Anyway, there's some instructions. I'll just set those there. And then inside, you'll see it says Rocket Q, and if we take this little cover off right there, it exposes the drive. In fact, for some reason, it wants to take the whole. Yeah, I think the packaging sort of defeats what we're trying to do here, which is present the drive elegantly. So that can go, I don't want to throw it on the floor. I'll put it right there. This is your Sabrent 2 terabyte. This is their budget. Yeah, let me hold it right side up. This is their budget 2 terabyte drive, which again is faster than Intel's 2 terabyte QLC. The QLC technology, look, I'm not going to go through MLC, SLC, TLC, QLC. Just know that the QLC is potentially the one that could store the most data, but it's also the slowest one. And somehow they've figured out how to make it go faster, significantly faster. And I will test this drive separately another day, because we are not going to get the performance that this drive can perform out of any USB enclosure, because USB 3.2, which is as good as it gets today, here in June of 2020, doesn't even come close to half of what this drive can do if it were plugged directly into a motherboard's generation 3x4 M.2 slot. What does all that mean? It means if you plugged it directly in your motherboard, it'd go faster, if your motherboard supported it. But here's the thing. When you're moving data through USB, why would you want it to go any slower? So if you're making your backups on an old USB flash drive, like I've got these little 2 gig flash drives here, these are slow, but they're only 2 gigs. 2 gigs, 2 terabytes. Do you guys know the difference? Let me rephrase. 2 gigs, 2,000 gigs. 2 gigs, 2,000 gigs. Yeah, now we should all be on the same page. As you can understand or comprehend, I hope, copying 2 gigs isn't as much as copying 2,000 gigs. And so if it takes you 5 minutes to copy 2 gigs, it only takes you 30 seconds to copy 2 gigs. Not a huge difference in time, right? But if you want to copy 2,000 gigs at the speed of that 2 gig drive, oh, I hope you packed a sandwich. But in this case, we should go much, much faster. And in fact, far faster than the USB port can deliver, as I've said like 4 times. But it should max out the speed of USB, meaning there's no way for you to go any faster currently in June of 2020 than what I'm setting up right now. So if your backups are still taking a long time, I guess you're screwed. But basically, you should know in your heart that they're going as fast as they can reasonably go with today's technology. So I'm going to figure this out. So we're going to take the drive, we're going to seat it into the socket, and that's going to go right where that magnet is that I didn't take out. So I guess I'm going to do this again. I'm going to just wiggle that out and pull. I'm going to set it down here, and I'm going to take this little magnet out. Right up here, there's this little magnet. I'm going to set it down here for a moment. You'll see it is tool-free. I am not using any screwdrivers on this. And I'm going to seat this right into the socket. See if I can give you a good view here. Goes right into the socket on an angle. I kind of wiggle and push it until the little gold fingers disappear. And you'll see it kind of springs up and down. Now I'll take this little magnet piece and I will seat it right into that groove of the drive. And if I do this right, probably should read the instructions. There's probably an easier way. See, I got to do it again. Hold on. Take two. Put the drive in. Good. And then where there's that little cutout in the top of the drive, I'm going to put the top of this little magnetized holder right inside of that. See that? You getting it? Camera's picking that up. And the bottom of that's a magnet, and if I push down on this, it should just lock right into that little spot. And that's going to hold the drive in position. And now I can take the lid that we had just removed. Oh, and we have some thermal tape up here. So we want to remove the protective cover off the thermal tape. And that'll help transfer the heat away from the NVMe drive. Now, if I were just working on a customer's system, I would probably just remove the thermal tape. But if I were going to keep this in here permanently, then you definitely want that thermal tape just to keep it running as cool as possible. Now, I can't remember, did this go on this way or did it go on? I don't know. I think it went on this way. And then we push that down. And then we turn this thing clockwise 90 degrees and it stops. And then we can just push the little lever back up. There's 2 terabytes of storage. Now I can use one of these 2 cables. Does this motherboard have a Type-C back here? No, that makes that easy. There's no Type-C back here. So I will use this cable. And I want you to know, if you're buying cheap cables, cheap USB cables, they're not all the same. If you're buying inexpensive cables, chances are your cell phone may not be charging as quickly as it could be because you were too cheap to buy a good cable, or you just thought you got a good deal on a cable, and you have no idea that your cell phone may be taking 3 times longer to charge because you thought paying the $20 for the cable or whatever is too much. Probably about $8 for a good USB Type-C cable, a good one. But those good ones will charge your phone faster if you have a modern, Galaxy S8, S9, S10, Apple iPhone. And likewise, they will transfer data faster. So even if you have a USB 3.2 device and a USB 3.2 port on the back of your computer, but you bought a $3 cable, you may go, wow, why do my transfer speeds suck? They suck because you bought a cheap cable. So I'm glad that Sabrent includes a quality cable with the enclosure. That'll prevent some tech support calls, I bet. So I've got the Type-C end plugged in here, and as you can see, there's no wrong way to plug it in. Now let's get this computer hooked up. I just put Windows on it yesterday. You guys were here with me yesterday when I did that. It's a brand new build that did not exist the day before yesterday, except in loose parts. And I need, an HDMI cable, which I have right here. And power. I've already got the keyboard and mouse plugged in and turned on. So let's fire this bad boy up and let's switch over to camera 2. I'll just put myself in a corner. Let's do that. That'll work. A couple of contributions have come in. Let me give a couple shouts out here to some generous folks. George Laroa contributes $1.99 and says, hello from the Dominican Republic, enjoying the stream. Right on, thank you. Rain One Full contributes $2 Canadian. George Z with a $2 contribution. South Bay Technology Gurus contributes $1.99 and says, what hardware do you use to stream or refer to past video? I will get into that a bit later. Zarian Art Drawing Tutorials and Speed Paints has contributed $2 and said this is just for supporting the channel. And $3.44 just came in from Eddie Sawyers. Hey, Eddie, thank you. Thank you so much to all of you for helping to support the channel. All right, back to business. I'm going to take the Sabrent drive. If you're looking up in the right corner, if you're looking at me, I'm going to take the Sabrent drive. We'll go around to the back of the computer. I'm going to plug it into any of these blue USB ports. These blue ones should all be USB 3.2, something like that, 3.1, I don't know. They should be the fast ones. Now when I plug it in, if we watch the desktop, we might notice that it typically when you plug in a drive, the contents of the drive will appear like if you haven't changed your Windows settings. And the reason why nothing is appearing, it's because this is a brand new drive. It's never been formatted. Heck, it's never even been partitioned. So the computer doesn't know what to do with it. It knows there's new hardware, but the hardware is not initialized. So you don't get the typical acknowledgement that you would typically get when you plug in a formatted flash drive. It will once we partition and format it. Let me show you. If I use the mouse, I go to the Start button, and I use the right mouse button. I'm going to right-click and go to Disk Management. Watch what happens. Computer's going to go, hey, I just found something new. See, normally if you did that right now along with me, you wouldn't get this little initialized disk box. You see right up here? You see right up here? It says initialized disk. It's referring to the Sabrent drive. Now, you don't have to worry about MBR or GPT. For the most part, if you're running Windows 10, you can just follow all the defaults by clicking OK. And right down here for disk 1, it says 1,863 gigabytes. Now remember I told you it was 2,000 gigabytes. And the way the math is reported, I've got a quick tips video that explains the discrepancy and how the math is reported. But essentially we're going to round it up. It's 2,000. That's a 2 terabyte drive, and that's pretty standard for all 2,000 gigabyte drives. 1,000 gigabytes is 1 terabyte. 2,000 gigabytes is 2 terabytes. This is a 2 terabyte drive, and we've just created a partition, but now we have to format that partition. And there are numerous types of file allocation tables or partitioning, not partitioning, but operating system I/O platforms that, I don't even know the phrasing for it. But there's FAT, FAT16, FAT32. FAT is File Allocation Table, FAT. NTFS is the one you're probably most familiar with, New Technology File System, NTFS. And then, of course, there's also exFAT, EXFAT. That's External File Allocation Table. That's for cross-compatibility with Mac OS and Windows. I'm going to keep this as NTFS because I'm only going to use it on a Windows platform. So this is just a big, oh, sorry, wrong mouse. This right here is just a big partition that's unallocated. Unallocated means unformatted. You have not allocated any space for your operating system. So let's allocate some space by formatting our partition. I had somebody say to me, why do you talk to your viewers like they're novices when many of us are technical people? Because I don't make my videos for technical people. I make my videos for novices. And while technical people are welcome to come and join me, please don't ask me to make the channel more technical. There's plenty of that on the internet. There's a lot of technical content made by technical people intended for technical people. But the regular everyday users of computers, like your parents or just, regular folks, where's the channel for them when they represent the majority of computer users? Well, that channel's right here, right now. And so while I appreciate technical people watching, you guys are great, I love you, please don't try and change my channel into being like everybody else. Let's try and find common, plain English language that we can all easily understand and open up our community so that it's not considered technical anymore. It'll just be considered every day. You know what I mean? Like, at one point, people thought an ATM was technical, and now everybody knows how to use them. They don't think anything about it. And I'm hoping to see that become the new normal. And there's an edit point for Linda. I'm going to right click on this unallocated space, or right mouse click, and I'm going to select the first option, new simple volume, and then left click on that. And I'm simply going to just click next pretty much through here. Next, next, next. If I want to give the volume a name, we can call this, just so I can identify it when it's plugged into a USB port of a computer that has a lot of ports. You know what? Let's call it Sabrent 2 terabyte USB. Click next. If I go back, I'm going to go back just for a moment. This perform a quick format, you definitely want to check that. Otherwise, you're going to need to make a sandwich. I hope you're hungry. Just perform a quick format. That's all you need. Back in the day, hard drives weren't very reliable. You always wanted to format, check the sectors. These days, it's a step from the old days that's still carried over, but a quick format instead of a regular format is all we need. And you'll see how fast this happens. After I click next, I click finish, and it says formatting. Oh, before I could even say the word formatting, it's already done. Now the drive is ready to use. We never have to do that again, but you only have to do that when a drive is brand new out of the package, whether it's a solid state drive, a mechanical hard drive, any brand new drive out of a package. The manufacturer doesn't know if you've got a Mac. They don't know if you're running Linux. So the drive just comes unpartitioned and unformatted so that you can partition and format it for whatever operating system you have at home. Now the vast majority of you are running Windows. Everybody else running Mac or Linux, certainly the Linux users probably already know this information. They tend to be more technical people. However, for the benefit of the rest of you, that's how that works. Now when I go click the yellow folder down here, I will look and see if I click this PC, I can see my C drive, and now I have a D drive. Now watch closely. I'm going to unplug the D drive. I'm not even going to properly disconnect it. I'm just going to pull the cable. Now you remember the last time I plugged it in, the computer didn't do anything, and I explained why. Now when I plug it in, watch what happens. Since it's been partitioned and formatted, it will initialize, and on the screen, in any minute now, there it is, little notification pops up. And it brings up the name of the drive that I typed in, Sabrent 2 terabyte USB. Select to choose what happens with removable device. Click on that, and I'll choose open the folder to view the files. Now it's empty, we haven't used it yet. And I want to test the performance of this drive because remember, for a guy like me, I'm working on a lot of systems, I got a lot of customers waiting, I got to go quick, go, go, go. So I'm going to use Crystal Disk Mark just like I test all drives internally. I've got it here on this flash drive. I'm just going to plug this flash drive. Takes 3 attempts, so bear with me here because it's type A. Type A has no. All right, so that was like 5 attempts, but I got there. If it was type C, I would have just plugged it in and been done with it. We're going to go to, let's see, PC testing software, Crystal Disk Mark Portable 700H. You can Google that and download the portable version. It's the zip file. When you go to the Crystal Disk Mark, you'll see there's numerous downloads. The .zip or the zip version is the portable version, meaning there is nothing to install. We just open the folder and execute diskmark 64 by double-clicking and saying yes, and then I will close the window so we can focus on this window right here. Let me move this one out of the way. Now, the C drive, this is important when you're testing or benchmarking your hard drive. Pick the right drive. And sometimes USB ports can share data paths, so I want to eject the little flash drive I just plugged in there that I copied my utility from. I don't want it to interfere with my test. If you want to see the full advantage of your USB port, make sure you don't have anything else plugged into your USB port that might be slowing down other devices. And basically, USB ports share data in pairs. So because I was on a separate pair, in theory, it shouldn't have interfered anyway, but I don't want to risk it. And I would advise you to run your own tests with different USB devices plugged in to see how it's affecting or not affecting the transfer rate of your external drive, especially if you're making a backup that's a full system image. It's going to take a while. You might find if you have other USB devices plugged in that they're causing your backup to take longer. But test that for yourself, and you can do that exactly the way I'm showing you. Grab the free Crystal Disk Mark portable software, and we're going to click the All button. Well, no. First, I'm going to select the right drive. See, you almost got me. It's easy to screw up. In fact, it still shows the drive I ejected, which kind of bothers me. So I'm going to close the software. The reason that appears there is when the software started, when I executed the file, it said, let me see what we have, and then it started. Then I ejected the flash drive, and it never looks again. It just assumes that the drive it saw when it started is still there. If I start the program again, once again, it looks, it says, oh, what drives do we have? And now I should only see C and D now. And I did. See? Look at that. I'm going to choose D because that's our external drive. Remember, this is about as fast of external storage that is universal as far as USB goes. Anything else would require some type of proprietary connector like Thunderbolt. So what does that mean? Let's find out. I'm going to do all tests, and we will sit back for a minute here and watch the numbers. How are we doing in the chat room, guys? Peter says, when are we going to see a 10th generation build? That's a good question. There's no 10th generation chips that I can see for sale. So even if I wanted to build one, I can't get the parts. I can't even get power supplies right now. So that number, that 390 that we're seeing, that's about half of what I'm expecting to see. So I'm very curious as to why that number's so low. It suggests to me that I either have it plugged into a slower port or I don't have a proper USB driver, because I would fully expect this drive to hit about 1,000. Doesn't it hit 1,000? What does it hit? It should tell me on the back of the package. It's got to go faster than 390. The drive that we put in there is capable of speeds up to 2,900 megabytes a second. So it's running right now at about 1/10 of its ability, of its performance ability. I don't see some rated speed. Usually they advertise, on the box, they'll say what it can do. I would think we should be able to hit, I know with the Thunderbolt interface, we could hit 1,000, or really shy of 1,000. And we should be doing about half of Thunderbolt, because Thunderbolt is twice what USB 3.2. USB 3.2 is 20 gigabytes a second. I'm going to get nerdy here for a minute. Thunderbolt is 40. Thunderbolt can do 1,000, then USB 3.2 should be able to do 500. We're hitting 390. I know I can get 450 out of my SanDisk Extreme Pro USB flash drive. Oh! I'm falling into the same trap I fell into before. Here's the thing. And I made a quick tips, my sister made a quick tips video out of this. There used to be a time when you always needed to stop your flash drive before you unplugged it, or you would risk corrupting it. And that's because by default, Windows 10 had enabled what was called performance mode, or caching, meaning it would say, okay, the files you sent to your flash drive are done copying, you can go about your business. When in fact, they were still copying in the background, and it was just a cache or a buffer that was being emptied. And if you were falsely thinking that your copy was done and you pulled your flash drive out, well, your copy wasn't done and your data would be corrupted, and sometimes you could even kill a flash drive that way. So there is a setting within Windows 10 to put it back into performance mode. But when you put it back into performance mode, it only does it for that one drive plugged into that one USB port. In other words, if I take this drive and plug it into a different USB port on the same computer, then I have to manually set it back to performance. And it will remember that for that drive, for that USB port. But it's kind of a pain. But people are stupid. That's a terrible thing to say. But people, they said the screen said it was done copying, so I just pulled a flash drive. You're supposed to stop the service. Well, no matter how much Microsoft and folks like me, techs, would tell people stop doing that, I don't get this, I don't know how to stop it, I don't know what you mean. So Microsoft said, okay, you know what? We're going to change the default from performance mode to safe mode. And safe mode means I'm going to actually move the data in real time with no buffer. So your copy is going to take longer, or it's going to appear to take longer. And then for the technical people, they went, why did you slow my USB ports down? And Microsoft said, because those people won't listen. I don't think that's exactly what Microsoft said, but somebody at Microsoft said it. So you have to be a little more technical to know this. So I bet you if we turn performance mode on this drive for this USB port, our numbers will be drastically different. I want to let it complete the test just for the sake of having something to compare. And we're just about done anyway. It's doing the last of the write tests. William Gonzalez has just contributed $20. Hey, William, that's a generous contribution. Thank you for that. He says, thanks for all you do for us. Even tech people can catch a little refresher here. Right on, William. I appreciate that. David Griswold with a $5 contribution. He says, thank you for the weekend live stream. Well, hey, thanks for joining, David, and thanks for supporting the channel. We're just about done here with the test. Just waiting on that last result. You'll see at the very top of the screen, it's telling you it's doing a random write. It's 2 out of 5. And it'll do basically the same test 5 times and give us the best of those 5 results down here where it says 0.00. Now it's on 4 of 5. Now it's on 5 of 5. And then soon we should get a number down here. Once that, well, it's waiting to do it again for some reason. It didn't. For whatever reason, it wasn't successful, so it's doing it again. And I don't know why. So I'm not going to stand for it. I've got other things to do. I'm busy. So I hit stop. Just remember 390. All right, I'm not going to screen save this. 390 on the reads and 385 on the writes. It's close enough to 390 on both sides. I don't care about these other numbers. I want to see just the best performance under ideal conditions. So I'm going to close Crystal Disk Mark out. I'm going to go back to this yellow folder. I'm going to go to where it says this PC, and I'm going to use the right mouse button, and I'm going to go to Properties on the external USB drive. Then you click on, what is it, Tools? No, it's not Tools. Hardware? I think it's Hardware, and then Properties. And then, you see how easy they made this? And then you go to, no, not volumes, no, not drivers. Details, no. Events, no. Maybe it's change, so we're back under general. Change settings. It's just so easy. Policies. This seems like a policy. It says enable write caching. This says it improves performance by enabling write caching. So it looks like it was already turned on. Oh, my bad. It's showing me the Intel SSD. It's not showing me the Sabrent drive. Why is that? It says Sabrent here. Oh, because I have to click Sabrent. See what I did? See what I did? All right, let's start over. Pretend that didn't happen. Right click, because it's so simple and straightforward. It's just like 17,000 clicks and you're there. I don't know what the problem is. Go to Properties. Go to Tools. No. Stop. Start again. This is live and unscripted. Give me a break. Right click. Go to Properties. Go to Hardware. Go to Properties. Go to Change Settings. Stop it. Okay. All right. Take 4. What you're going to do is right-click on the Sabrent drive and go to Properties. In Properties, you're going to click on the Hardware tab and select the Sabrent drive. Then click the Properties button and go to Volumes. No. Stop it. Take 5. Hi. What's going on? I've done this before. Like twice. So what you're going to do, are you listening? Because don't make me do this tonight. Don't make me say it again. You're going to right-click on the drive, on the Sabrent drive. Now I'm stammering. Look what you've done. Are you happy? Are you proud of yourself? It's not my fault this is happening. 5 more minutes of this and I'm going to start getting angry. Right-click on the Sabrent drive and go to Properties. Go to the Hardware tab and select the Sabrent drive. Then click the Properties button. Then click Change Settings. Then click Policies. And you'll see it's set up for quick removal, what I call safe mode. And that disables write caching, which makes the device slower. And this is for all your USB storage, okay? This is the new Microsoft Windows 10 default since a couple versions ago. We want better performance. Make sure that the checkboxes enable write caching. That should be checked by default. Now it says to turn off the Windows write cache buffer flushing on the device. It says to prevent data loss, do not select this checkbox unless the device has its own separate power supply that allows the device to flush its buffer in case of a power failure. So we're going to leave that unchecked because that seems like a pretty important thing to leave unchecked. All right, and we click OK. And of course it opens the D drive back up, which is empty. We're going to close it. We'll click OK here, and we're gonna close this. We're going to go back to Crystal Disk Mark after having made that very simple 18-click change. We're going to run Disk Mark 64. That's the only difference we're making. Close this window so we can see. Select the D drive, and we'll just, we'll do all the tests. All right, see, we did it. We got there. And let's see what kind of numbers. It may not make any difference. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to do. Do you know what it's going to do? Should be faster. It's the same. All right. Maybe the write speed will be faster. You know what? I don't want to do all the tests. Let's just do the 2 top numbers. So to do that, I'll hit stop and I'll just hit the green button right next to these 2. I'm very interested in what these 2 numbers are right here. And I feel like it should be faster than 390. I feel like that should be like 500. I don't know what's going on here. I might have it plugged into a slower USB port. I don't know. I might be doing something wrong here, but we're going to just let this run through for a moment. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to confuse you. We'll let this run through here for a moment. Tony Wallow has contributed $4.99. Hey, Tony, thank you for that. Just looking through the chat room, see if I missed anybody in here. Sometimes the folks from Sabrent come in and join us, and if William is in there, he might have some tips for me on what I might be doing wrong. It just may be the USB port I'm in. So Blue Dog Ron is right there with me. He says, "Are you on the right USB port?" That's possibly the problem. I don't know, because that would be in the manual that came with the motherboard, and I can't be bothered. But this is an important lesson. goes to show you that not all USB ports are created equal. We do know that we've got a fast drive and a fast enclosure that should perform fast. So why isn't it? I mean, 390 is not terrible, but it's not great, and I expect better. So let me do this. Although this should make no difference, I'm going to eject the drive. Since I've got it in performance mode, it's important that I don't just yank the connector out. So we select eject and let it say that it's safe to remove. And I'm going to go up to the next pair of USB ports. Now remember, when I plug it into the new USB port, it's going to default back to quick removal mode. So once again, see, the best way you learn is through repetition. You see, the best way you learn is through repetition. The best way to learn. Okay, you finished my sentence. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going back to this PC, right-click, Properties, Hardware, select the Sabrent drive, Properties, change settings, Policies. Oh, it saved it for better performance. I mean, look at that. Maybe you should change something in Windows 10. Well, it's a good thing to check it anyway. All right? All right. Mommy, look at the clown. They keep changing things on Windows 10. Just when you think you got it all figured out, they change it on you. We're going to run the same test. The only difference now is I'm plugged into a different USB port. See what kind of numbers we get. I should really see what this motherboard supports. Holy smokes! Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. What just happened? Oh, are you kidding me? What? What? How's that possible? What's happening right now? What's it going to do on the writes? It's obviously it can't do 1800 on the writes. Oh my God. All right. Hey, you know, whatever. I wonder. I have a theory. There's the completed test. 1896 on the reads, 1774 on the writes, which is insane. And I have a sneaking suspicion that changing it from the quick removal mode to performance mode did not take effect until I unplugged the drive from the USB port and plugged it back in. How much you want to bet that if I plug this right back into the USB port I originally had it in, I will still see those same numbers? Let's see. Let's close it. Eject it. And I'm going to unplug it from here and put it right back where it was, which is this USB port right there. Should pop up on the screen. After it initializes, there it is. And without changing anything, I want to bring up Crystal Diskmark Portable. Run Diskmark 64. Yes. Just do the two tests up on top. And see if we're back at 390. If we're back at 390, it's the USB port. But if we're at 17 or 1800, then it means that in order for that change to, yeah, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, when you change your USB from, apparently this is going to be a quick tip. When you change your USB port setting from quick removal to performance, you need to unplug. You may need to unplug. I don't know definitively that that's universal across the board. But you'll see we're at 1896.84, and that's mostly because of buffering and caching. So it's not an honest number in the sense that we're seeing the actual data throughput, but it is an honest number that it is actually moving that data that quickly into a buffer, which is fine. It just means you can't yank the drive out until it's flushed. And you can make your own jokes about the flushing comment but the buffer has to be flushed before you pull the drive. I know it doesn't sound like technical talk. It sounds like truck stop talk, but it's true. Telling you is true. Now, since it's running so well, let's go ahead and get some official numbers, and let's just hit the all button. I got to use the right mouse. We'll hit all. We're going to do these tests one more time. We're going to run through all the reads and all the writes, and we'll get some final numbers. Look at that, guys. It's live. Oh, did I? Oh. You guys are good. You guys are good. I see in the chat room now that I'm testing the C drive. I'm not testing the D drive. Remember I said it's important that you select the right drive. And I was in such a hurry, I let it run the C. Those numbers are for my C drive. Who noticed that in the chat room first? Feral Sparky says you're a goofball. It's the C drive. Feral Sparky, you should definitely be a moderator. You are a moderator. Because that is the kind of attention you need to pay. That's the kind of detail you have to pay when you're in this field. It's those little tiny details. You guys caught me. And I absolutely, I was so impressed, you know. I was very impressed. Like, I was blown away by those results. I mean, a USB drive running at those speeds, you guys are probably ready to go out and buy those, huh? Well, hang in there. You still might want to buy one. Hold on. Oh, see, this is why you shouldn't do live content. This is exactly why. Because that simple little mistake, now I'll get made fun of forever for it. But this is something everybody does. Everybody makes these little mistakes. And I did warn you, but I didn't listen. We got to go up here and we have to pick the D drive. So one more time, let's do the test again, I don't know, the right way. And I want to see if I'm getting 390 again here. Oh boy. Told you I was human. Yeah, so we're still at 390. So we're going to stop the test, and I'm just going to start over again. I'm going to eject the drive, and I'm going to move it back to another USB port because I was so excited. Take it out of there. We're going to plug it in here. I'm so disappointed in myself. No matter what thing you want to tease me with, you aren't any meaner to me than I am to myself right now. Simple mistake. And I warned you. I freaking warned you. Make sure you select the right drive. And yet I did it anyway. One more time. That's a classic moment. Select the D drive. Run the test. Oh, man. Live video, worldwide. People watching several countries around the world. And I went and pulled a Carey. No difference. Still at 390.05. I'm not even going to let the test go any further. 390.05, I feel like feels wrong to me. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. So I'm going to move it to yet another USB port. We're pretty consistent. There's some black USB ports down here. They should be USB 2, so it should be even slower. Let's try that and see what happens. Back to Dismark 64. Select the D drive, Carey. Got it. I got it. Thank you. Thank you. It was just testing you. That's all. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was checking to see if how many of you were paying attention. Yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah, I did it on purpose. See? Yeah. This feels like it's taking longer. Here's the thing. If you have a slow computer, buying fast USB storage isn't going to make your computer any faster. Putting faster internal storage into it can help immensely. So that's clearly USB 2 because we're running 43 megabytes a second. And I think USB 3 is it how many times faster than USB 2? It's hard to remember a lot of this technical stuff off the top of my head. It's hard to remember what I had for breakfast today. So I don't want to come off as one of those people that can, sit there and sput all these facts and figures. I'd like to be, but the more facts and figures come out with new technology, and the older I get, the more information gets jammed in my little head, and I start getting corruption, lots of data corruption. Those numbers suck. But that's USB 2.0. That's got nothing to do with the drive. So I want to know why. Now I'm kind of bothered because I feel like that should be faster. I don't know what's happening right now. I wish I had a USB 3.1 Type-C connector on here. This is a cheap motherboard. This is a B450M DS3H, which has, what kind of USB does this thing have? Let's look at the back of the box. Doesn't tell me. That's not a good sign. They should be bragging about it if they had it. USB 3.1 Gen 1. Oh. Yeah. I wonder what the maximum speed. Maybe somebody in the chat can tell me. Does anybody know the maximum speed of USB 3.1 Gen 1? Because it says it's got 6 USB 3.1 Gen 1s, and that'll include the front USB port, which should run exactly the same speed. We can check it. We can certainly check it. Let me stop the drive. Very good. And we'll plug it in up here. These USB ports should all be using the same driver, so I don't expect to see any different speeds. That's funny, the magnet that's on the other side of this device, it's holding a little wire. It's actually it's magnetizing things to the opposite side that's not intended to do. Will it stick to the side of the computer? No, it's too heavy. It wants to, but it's too heavy. Okay, let's try this again. Did I mention this was live and unscripted? Do you believe me now? Nobody would do that on purpose. No. Okay, gotta do the D drive. There is no D drive. Why? Why? Oh, I didn't plug it in all the way. You got to make sure all your cables are plugged in all the way. Little tip from your Uncle Carey. Just missed that. That's just Windows security stuff. It's just housekeeping stuff. Don't let me confuse you. So I still don't see the D drive when I'm plugged into the top USB port. That's interesting. Let me make sure the cable's plugged in all the way. There we go. I expect we'll see the same results. But, hey, I've been wrong before. Yeah, well, it's a little better. 461. I kind of thought 500, right? And that was kind of where I was at on that. But I'm very interested in why the speed difference. USB 3.1 Gen 1 supports speeds up to 5 gigabits per second or 625 megabytes per second. Okay, so I was expecting around 500. That was perfectly reasonable for me to get to be around 500. 461 is better, but the question is, why would it perform better on the front USB port than on the rear ones when they're all using the same driver and they're all supporting the same protocol? That's a new puzzle. You're never going to get the full 625 because you have error correction and parity that has to, double check the integrity of the data, which takes some of the data bandwidth. So I don't know what the actual practical data throughput rate would be to be expected. Maybe 550. I'm sure that William over at Sabrent can let me know. So what I'm going to do now, just for one final test, I want to make sure that I didn't have my cables not plugged in all the way. I do that. I'm a little too gentle. I was going to say giant, but I'm not a giant. I'm a gentle person. Yeah, go with that. So what I'm going to do is close this out one more time. You're going to get this routine, right? Because you learn through repetition. We're going to disconnect, or rather eject, the Sabrent drive one more time. And I'm going to come back around here one more time. I've only got 4 to choose from back here, so they're all part of the same pair. Let me make sure it's pushed all the way in this time. All the way. Make sure it's all the way in here. And then we'll go to Crystal Diskmark Portable, Diskmark 64, select the D drive, and one more time. Is it going to be 390? I don't know. Let's see. Now, I recall reviewing one of these drives in the past, and I had a really bad cable where it just sometimes wouldn't connect. And when Sabrent offered to send me another one, I had mentioned I had tested one of these before. It didn't go so well, and I thought, well, it's probably a manufacturing problem. But now I'm thinking they got a real design issue with this cable. I've got another cable back here. I'm just kind of curious. I'm curious on 2 factors. I've got a competing product from Pluggable, and Pluggable is the one you'll see me use most often. The Pluggable device certainly doesn't, it's not a big heat sink like that. It doesn't dissipate the heat, I imagine. I mean, I haven't tested it, but just logically, it shouldn't dissipate heat as well as that great big Sabrent unit. That's it's twice the Sabrent unit's like twice the size, and it's all metal. So it's a great heat sink to stave off the heat from the NVMe drive. The Pluggable drive, on the other hand, is a little piece of plastic. I don't know that that it would necessarily cause any heat issues. The Sabrent, probably both of these support up to USB 3.1 Gen 2, which is 10 gigabits per second. So getting 1,000, if this motherboard supported it, we should see about 1,000 out of there. So I'm right on board with my assertions now that I have some more clarity. There's 2 things I'm particularly interested in. So here's the Pluggable drive. You guys have seen me use this in the past. This has been and is my favorite NVMe USB enclosure because I like the way they did the toolless design better than Sabrent. Sabrent's got that magnet, which can be a little bit of a hassle to align, whereas the Pluggable has this little rubber peg, and you just pull it aside, drop the drive in, and let it go, and it just snaps back. So what I want to do is simply use the cable that comes in the Pluggable drive with the Sabrent to see if the cable makes any difference. They include the same cables. You have a Type-C to Type-C and a Type-C to Type-A, just like the Sabrent drive. These are identical products with identical price ranges that perform identically. They're both tool-free devices. As I mentioned, the Sabrent drive's pretty hefty. It's like a big heat sink. The Pluggable's like a cheap piece of plastic. However, I want to see how the Pluggable device performs. But before I do, I just want to try the Pluggable cable to see if we have a cable issue here. How does that sound? And then we'll wrap it up because I really didn't want to go this long. I thought this was going to be super easy. I'm only going to be on for an hour. I'm just going to be slapping a drive in and running a test. It should be in and out, right? Okay. Where am I at? An hour and 15. Yeah, well, have you seen my videos before? They tend to go a little long. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to eject the Sabrent drive one more time. Here we go. Yay. We're going to unplug it, take the cable out, dump the cable. We're going to use, God, it just like falls in. It doesn't really hold it. This is all bringing back memories for me, William, when I did this before. It's like there's something wrong in manufacturing. It's as if the plug is too recessed into the drive and the cable just won't go in far enough. It feels very loose. Like I'm afraid if I lift this by the cable, it's just going to fall right out. It doesn't grab it like it should. I don't feel like the connector's going all the way in, even on your included cable. It's as if the case is just a little too thick and it prevents the cable from seating fully. But I don't know what I'm talking about, so don't listen to me. That's just my theory. Let's plug this in. So the cable's so loose, it just fell out. That's exactly what just happened. Stay. I don't even know how I can keep that stay. You gonna stay? I don't know. Sabrent's been so kind to me. I don't want to be mean to them, you know? But this is what it is. I'm going to be honest here. I'm just going to be honest. And I think that the USB Type-C cable does not seat fully in the enclosure. Okay, I tested the drive C. See, I noticed this time. That didn't happen. Select drive D, Carey. Let's do it again. You know, I shouldn't really broadcast it today. Those were all messages. All those things that were delaying me from getting started today, we're still at 390. All right, so I don't know. Let's try the pluggable drive and see what it runs at. So we're going to take this drive out. We'll eject it. Let me go full screen. You guys can watch what I'm doing here. This will be the tell-all right now. If these drives are equal in every way, shape, and form, then I should get 390 from the pluggable enclosure, right? So here's what I'm going to do. Here's the pluggable enclosure. Here's the way it works. There's a little switch on the bottom. We move the switch, and the whole thing just opens up. That's a lot easier to get it open than Sabrent's drive. I'm going to just pull this drive. I don't even care anymore. We're going to just take this out, pull the handle, twist 90 degrees counterclockwise, pull the handle up, and then I don't know how you get the drive out. Again, Sabrent, I think they just need to take this back to the drawing board. Come on. I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm not exaggerating. I'm just trying to get the drive out. It's toolless, and the magnet is very strong. Okay, I think I got it. All right, put the magnet down. We'll take the Sabrent drive out. We're still going to use Sabrent's drive. Now watch the installation difference, especially the guys over at Sabrent. Watch this. This goes in like this. There's a little rubber peg right up here. I'm going to pull that rubber peg back. I'm going to push the drive down and just let the rubber peg go, and it holds the drive. That's it. There's no magnet. There's no lining it up with the hole. It's so much easier. Then there's a little arrow. You see the little arrow? And there's a little arrow here, right here. See that arrow? You see that arrow? You align those two arrows together. We're done. We're done. That's it. It's still a faster install than the Sabrent drive. It's lighter, but it also probably doesn't dissipate heat as well. That locks in place. The Sabrent doesn't lock in. It just kind of, I don't know. It's like the opening is too large, or it's not, or it's too deep and just can't reach all the way down in to get to the part where it grips it. This is the same problem I had with the other one. I didn't want to mention the other one. And the reason I didn't want to mention it is I thought it's probably like a manufacturing problem for that one unit. But it appears it runs through the whole line. And it's maddening. It's absolutely maddening. But I bet the drive is great. It's just the enclosure I'm complaining about, so we're clear. Now, let me plug this in. Let me switch you back over to camera 2. Let me put myself in the corner again, because I really have other things to do. I really wasn't planning to be this long. So this is my final test. All right, guys, place your bets. Will this pluggable device using the same Sabrent NVMe 2 terabyte Rocket Q drive perform at 390? Will it be faster? Will it be slower? Will it be the same? Plugging it into the same port on the back of the computer that I've been using. And I want to make sure that the performance mode is turned on, so we'll go to this PC, we'll right-click on the Sabrent drive, we'll go to Properties, we'll go to Hardware, we'll click, oh, it says J-Micron this time because it's a J-Micron controller in the pluggable device. Remember how I mentioned in the beginning how the drive software won't recognize the drive, it sees the controller. It was a Sabrent labeled controller on the Sabrent enclosure. It's a J-Micron controller in the pluggable enclosure. We'll click Properties, we'll click Change Settings, we'll go up to Policies, use Better Performance, Enable Write Caching, click OK, close the windows that open Crystal Disk Mark, execute Disk Mark 64, and we'll just run the read tests. And I'm on drive C again. I'm a slow learner. It's not nice to make fun of slow people. Let me select the drive this time. Now let's get some numbers. That's a little faster. Those are the numbers we saw on the front USB of the computer. And I suspect it is a cable fitment issue with the Sabrent drive. I'm going to stick with that excuse. I think 430 may be what we can expect from USB 3.1 Gen 1. I'm sure this will perform faster in a 3.1 Gen 2, but you probably don't have 3.1 Gen 2 unless you built your computer this year or within the last 6 months. In all likelihood, you probably don't have it. Now, Silverstone and other companies do make PCIe USB 3.2 add-in cards, so you don't have to replace your motherboard. You can buy the add-in card if you have room for it in your case and your motherboard has the available slots. And I've talked about those in the past. They're relatively inexpensive. They're for sale on Amazon. So if you're backing up a lot of data, you can tell I'm a person that's always in a hurry because I keep going to that C drive. I'm in such a hurry, I keep running the test without setting it up first. So performance for me is very important because I'm always go, go, go. I'm always in a hurry. I always have a bunch of people waiting. I always have a bunch of things to do. So when you hear me emphasize performance and why I'll spend a little bit more money for a faster USB flash drive, this is why, because I'm impatient and I have things to do. So out of curiosity, we'll run all the tests. That'll be the last thing I'm going to do today. So we're going to run the whole gamut of testing here. And I do believe we have a manufacturing issue with the drive. I would suspect, I wonder if I take the circuit board out and I can seat the cable directly out of the enclosure, if it'll perform better. I wonder. Let's let that test run, and while it runs, let's see if I got a little tiny screwdriver I can get that out. So there are two really small screws that I've just removed on each side of the circuit board. And I think I can take the circuit board out now. I mean, that's basically the whole drive. Everything else is just enclosure. I'm too anxious. I don't want to wait for this test. I got my 2 top numbers earlier. I'm sorry if you're interested, but I really have to know the answer to this, and I need to know now because I'm in a hurry. I have a bunch of other stuff to do. So let me just eject it. And we're going to do the same thing, right? To take the drive out of this enclosure, I just hit the little switch under here. That pops open. I pull the little rubber peg back, and the drive pops out. I'm done with it. That's why the pluggable unit is my favorite unit. And if Sabrent could come to the table with something that makes it easier than this and can dissipate the heat better, you can improve on this, send it to me. This is the circuit board that came out of the enclosure. This is Sabrent's cable. And I'm going to just plug the cable in because I feel like, yeah, see, now it locks. It doesn't lock when it's in the enclosure. I think the enclosure is too thick. So that's locked in. Now, I'm going to take the drive and I'm going to place it into the socket. And by the way, you shouldn't be doing this at home, but this is just something I do because I'm Carey Holzman. And I'm going to plug this in while I'm holding on to it, which is really stupid. Come on, get in there. See, got a blue light. Let's go back to put me right over there. Come on. Put me right there. Okay. Yeah. Oops. I got to make my screen big. Hold on. Make big screen. Oh, I can see now. We'll go to disk mark 64. I will select the D drive. I promise I'm totally going to do that now. D drive. Let's run these tests. Are we still going to get 390? Yeah, well, I guess it's not a cable issue. I thought it was cables. I don't know. Kind of at a loss now. I don't know what's happening right now. The pluggable unit performs better. And even when I use pluggable's cable. All right, you know what? Stop the test. Eject the drive. Let's change the cable back over to Sabrent's cable. One last time. I'm going to plug in Sabrent's cable. That seats even further down into the connector. That's really got me puzzled here. Why is this going all the way down? Am I too gentle? It just doesn't want to go any further. No, I mean, it bottoms out, but there's still a lot of connector sticking out. When I plug in Pluggable's cable, when it goes in there, it goes in, and it doesn't seem like as much of the connector sticks out. So maybe their connector's shorter? I have no idea. No idea. Let's plug it in. I'm always using the same USB connector just so the test remains accurate. Okay. Good. We can just close this and reopen it again so it'll re-examine the drives. D, run. No? Okay, well, I'm at a loss. I don't know what else to say. I thought it might have been an engineering issue with the cable not reaching all the way in. Clearly, that's not the problem. We are consistently reading 390 with Sabrent's controller. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop this test because there's no point in continuing it. I'm going to eject the drive so I can let it go because this is starting to cramp up a little bit here. I will put the pluggable stuff back with pluggable. I'll put Sabrent back with Sabrent. I'm going to put the flash drive, or the solid state drive rather, back in its nice little enclosure. We'll put it all back exactly the way it was, just like that. And what have we learned? I don't know. Kind of sad. I was really looking forward to being blown away. And I was for a moment, until I realized it was, well, until you guys pointed out it. Thanks for raining on my parade. Let me hit the power button, shut this thing off. Let's go full screen on camera 1. All right. So, let me give you a little window into my life. This was supposed to be a quick review. I was supposed to put the solid state drive into the enclosure, plug the enclosure in, run Crystal Disk Mark on it, and see numbers that were aligned with what I was expecting, which I mentioned. Then I started to try and figure out why. Was that normal for this computer? Was it a cable? So I grabbed another unit. It was never my intention when I started this video to put the pluggable unit against the Sabrent unit, but I had to know. When the pluggable unit performed better, in fact, even when Sabrent's own unit performed better on the front USB port than on the rear, even though they're all the same, I started thinking there was a cable issue. So then I started checking different cables. No result. The pluggable unit with the same solid state drive installed in it performed faster, significantly faster. Still not the numbers I was expecting, but that's probably related to this box. This is a budget box, okay? So if you want those big numbers, we'd have to add into the computer a USB 3.2 Gen 2 card or buy a better motherboard. But that still led me to trying to figure out what's going on. It's not the drive. The drive's running great. The Sabrent 2 terabyte Rocket Q is fantastic. In fact, I need to come back and revisit that to see what its numbers are if it were to be installed directly, because 490 ain't cutting it. This 2 terabyte drive is clearly capable, according to the documentation, of doing 2,900 megabytes per second. So we know the drive isn't a problem. We know the cables aren't the problem, and that just leaves the enclosures, or rather the controller they're using on the enclosures. Sabrent's using their own branded controller. They don't make it. Somebody else makes it. Sabrent puts their name on it. Pluggable's using a J-Micron controller. For all I know, they might be both using the same controller. Now, I have a bunch of things to do, and I thought I would do this today so it'll be one less thing I have to do. Now I've got 2 more things to do that I didn't have to do before, and that includes getting on the phone with William over at Sabrent and having him watch the video and listen to what he has to say. He may notice that I did something incorrectly, or he may have a tip for me. I don't know. So I need to give them an opportunity to talk to me about what's going on. Then I need to follow up with Sabrent on how we're going to address this. Are we just going to move on? Are we going to revisit it with a different product or an update to the product? Which just adds on, because I don't have anything else going on. I want to know why, and I want the folks at Sabrent to tell me why the pluggable enclosure works faster than theirs with their own drive. And I want to know what the theory is here. I would, if I had hours and hours and hours to go, I would grab my laptop, or I'd grab another desktop, a higher end model, set it on the counter, and run the tests again. In theory, both enclosures running the same drive should run the same speed. Why is that not happening? And what are the odds that you at home will have what's required for the Sabrent drive to run top performance? I don't know. I'd like to think universal serial bus or USB would be universal and that we would all have the same. But the fact is, it's not the same. There are different controller makers, different driver versions, and it can run differently in different operating systems and even under different formats. And there's a lot of testing I can do. Try it with exFAT, try it with an Intel motherboard, try it with ATTO instead of Crystal Diskmark. The testing can go on and on and on and on and on. And in the meantime, I'm at an hour and 35 minutes for my short video that I wanted to make today. So I do appreciate Sabrent sending the product to me. I will get back to you guys when I hear back from them after they watch the video and share with you what they have to say. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I want you to also focus on the fact my disappointment is in the enclosure, not in the drive. I'll take these all day long. I already know this is a good drive, but I will test this drive properly in a future video, just the drive itself. And as for the enclosures, well, I'm still digging my pluggable enclosure, man. That's my go-to. I was really hoping to, I really wanted to like the Sabrent. I really wanted to like it, the enclosure. So, again, my appreciation and thanks to William and the folks over at Sabrent. Thank you to everybody who's contributed during today's live stream. I'll give a quick shout out to, let's see, we got John Blaker contributed $1.99. He says, keep up the good work. John Lewis contributes $3. He says he's watching from Brazil. Hey, very cool, John. Thanks for contributing. Peter Buston contributes £2. He says, best wishes from the UK. Scott Hallinan contributes $3 New Zealand dollars. He says, today the students are the teacher. Indeed. Indeed they are. David Griswold's contributed $2. He says, Carey, this is why we love the channel. Farrell Sparky has contributed $5. He says, I once met Bill Nye the Science Guy when I was a kid, and I kept having issues with the bit he was doing and said, this is why, he kept having issues with a bit he was doing and said, this is why the show isn't live. Yeah, well, exactly. David Ice contributes $5. He says, hello, Carey. In chat, I hope everyone is staying safe. Farrell Sparky contributed again. He says, you're a goofball. Yeah, I don't know. Reverend John O'Toole, hey, Johnny. He says, yesterday was my birthday. Thanks for all you do. Say happy birthday, Johnny. Come on, people in the chat. Give John a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Johnny. Let him have it. Come on. Please. Happy birthday, John. Tony Wallow, $4.99. Hey, Tony, always good to see you. Thank you for your continued support and contributions. Matt Power, David Griswold, William Gonzalez, George Z. Rick Lakes, Paul Carroll, Randy Harris, Scott Hallinan, Sharon Idle, Brian Rhodes, who says hello from Western New York. Gunnar and Gunnar contributed 50 Norwegian krona. He says, I finally caught you live. Yeah, it just had to be a Sunday. Or Saturday. It's Saturday. It's a good day for me. Things are just going my way today. Mike Yazzie contributed $20. John Jack Wilson has contributed $20, just like he did yesterday. Thank you so much, John. He says, wow, what a treat, a weekend video. Hey, I'm glad you joined me, John. I'm glad you were available. It's always good to see you. Eddie Sawyer is another friend of the channel. Hey, Eddie, always good to see you. Zarian Art, drawing tutorials and speed paints. Thank you, Zarian Art. South Bay Technology Gurus with $1.99. George Z, Rain One Full. And the first contribution today was from George L. Roa. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting the channel. Let's make sure George is a moderator in there. Hopefully everybody that contributed should have moderator status. I hope you all deserve it. And I'm about a half an hour late from where I needed to be. And it's entirely your fault. But forgive me. It's a day. It's just one of those days. You know, some days when I don't make videos, it's because on those days I'm afraid I'm going to make a video like this one. What are you going to do? Look at all those happy birthdays to you, John. Look at that. Adam Burdick has contributed $5. He says he has the 1 terabyte version of the Rocket Q. What do you think of it, Adam? Do you like it? I bet it's a great drive. I'm very happy with the Sabrent drive I'm using in my office computer. That 4 terabyte drive is amazing. I really wasn't expecting it to be that good, and this I was expecting to be better. So it's like opposite world. Phoenix Mixed Media says, I learn more when you make mistakes. Yeah, but the internet's a cruel place. You know, there are people out there just waiting for you to make a mistake so they can jump on you to emphasize how stupid that you are. And they've been saying how stupid you are the whole time, and now you've finally given them what they wanted to prove how right they were. That's okay. Paul Carroll's contributed $2. Hey, Paul, thank you. Gabriel Granado says those enclosures needs RGB. Security, could we escort Gabriel out, please? I'm kidding. No, seriously, get him. No. RGB. Peter says, Carey, thanks for being real. Well, I mean, you know, well, what am I going to do? Hope everybody enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed my public humiliation. I am pretty hard on myself when I make mistakes. And when I make mistakes on live video, it's not easier. You want to try it sometime? No? Oh. Well, that's okay. I'm pretty thick, so I'll keep coming back for more abuse. You all have been very kind to me. Thank you. I just know I'll see comments in this video after it's posted. I already see them. They're already there in my head. The beatings are coming. All right, I seriously have to go. I am way late. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for all my friends in blue for keeping it civil in the chat room. I really appreciate your support, your kindness, leading by example. That's what we do here. And also for all the contributions, John Jack Wilson, a great contribution the other day. Very generous. When I say great, I mean generous contribution. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. And for everybody else who's contributed in any way, shape, or form, be it sharing the videos on social media, or whether you contribute financially, or you use my Amazon links and the notes to buy stuff on Amazon because I get a little kickback from that, that's all appreciated. All the kindness, in any way you choose to show your kindness, that's what I appreciate the most. Of course, your friendship. If you like the video, you can do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. If you feel like being a nice person, you want to do something nice today, hit the thumbs up button. It's just a nice thing to do. If you want to be made aware when I go live, hit the subscribe button and then hit that bell icon, turn on the notifications. Once again, your kind act for today could just be hitting the thumbs up. It's just a kind thing to do. It just takes this. Easier than changing to performance mode on USB. It's several clicks less. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all again very, very soon. And until then, bye for now.